Hello. Hi, Lynn. I see that you're here. How are you? And then whoever else is here, I don't know if Lee is here or Steve. Um, but I'd love to hear from you guys. I really miss, that's one of the things I miss the most is that the beginning of class was always the opportunity for us to talk and for you to share what's going on in your life. And so, whether that was physically or mentally or emotionally, or whether you realize this or not, um, that when you talk to me, meaning anyone, whoever I'm speaking to now, when you share with me what's going on in your life, there's an energetic to that. So, I actually get the sense of where either individuals are or where the group is energetically. And it was a part of what created whatever the class was. So that's really interesting because that doesn't exist for me anymore. So when I come to a class to teach, first of all, I realize or I know who's in the class with us. So when you let me know you're here, I know you and your issues for those who have practiced with me for years. So I take that into account. Who doesn't like to weight bear on their hands, whose knees don't bend, who has chronic back issues, who has replacement parts or whatever it is. So I bring that to the class that I'm teaching that day. And then also some of the general overall wellness tools that are good for all of us. So if anyone wants to say anything, hello, Nancy. And so it's so great for me to think of Nancy and Lynn and where they would sit off to my right. Nancy for years, since the beginning, really, 7.5 years. So that's amazing, right? That we've been together for that many years. A lot of relationships don't last that long. So this is wonderful. So if there's anything you want to share, hi, Lynn, good morning. And then Lynn, you mostly sat over here, and then sometimes over there. So anyway, if you guys want to share anything in particular that's going on, I know some of you struggle with your backs. I know that there's some weight-bearing wrist issues here. I know there's replacement parts when I see who's here. And so I take all that into account. Good morning, Michael. And you guys are all my normal Wednesday people. So, when it comes to 2022 and going back to our environment, for those of you that are here that practice with me, the hope is, and that is what we're planning, is that 2022, there will be classes back. I don't know if it'll be all of them, and there's going to be hybrid aspects. So there's going to be an in-person and a Zoom aspect as well. So that will be good. Okay, well, lower back, Lynn, that's actually a place that most of this class was about for me, actually, in the flesh when we were all together. So definitely, all right, so let's definitely focus on lower back. And when I think of that, there's a specific aspect of the center of the trunk or the lower trunk where the core is the front of the back. So really focusing on making sure that your core is good. And then there's also the aspects of stretching and lengthening everything that leads to the low back so that there isn't this either pulling that's creating forces to the low back or posture, which is contributing to extra pressure on the low back, right? And of course, that was accentuated. Hi, Raina. Good morning. All right. So, Raina, if you wanted to let me know anything in particular that's going on with you, you could let me know in the chat before I go back there. I don't know if you were here the whole time, but we are definitely talking about some low back health. And so if you wanted to say anything before I go over there, because I can't see when I'm all the way back there. Anyway, all right. Well, we're going to get started. I'm going to move back there to my post. This could actually be something I've never really, I know I do this here, but I think walking around on like this. I mean, I guess for some people it could be kind of challenging for the knees. And I'm definitely one of those people that doesn't like weight on my knees. All right, let me see. Okay, perfect. I hope that means you are perfect. Raina, when you say perfect. Okay, so for today's practice, I would really like to focus on nothing specific and everything at the same time. So not necessarily like, let's take care of the hip today or the knee today or a joint or something like that, but rather really thinking about the entire package. And because forces from below and forces from above really end up being here in the midsection of the body, a lot of people struggle with back issues because of that. So I'd like you to think about that aspect as well. And I'd like you to think about right now, whether if you'd like to close your eyes and do this, or maybe even, think with eyes open. You know how that is? Like if you're actually trying to think about something, you'll actually look off into a certain direction, right? To actually bring the visual of whatever it is you're trying to think about. And then sometimes closing your eyes and going inside is the way to hear the messaging from the body or the mind, even in a better sense for you. So I'd like you to think right now about the upper part. I'd like you to think about you from the lower rib cage on up. And I'd like you to explore right now, do you have postural issues? So notice where your head is. Notice where your shoulders are. Would you say that your shoulders are forward or are they back? And the shoulder joint is like an orange sitting on top of a saucer. So it's a very shallow set joint. The top of the humerus, or the top of the humerus bone here, is a ball that sits in this joint, and it rolls forward and back. And for most of us, it's forward because of life, because we do everything forward. And then that shortens or contracts the muscles in the front to hold, to support the weight. And then the back muscles get overstretched and they lose their tone. So where are your shoulders? Where is it from the side? Is your head exactly on top of your spine forward, or a lot of it forward? And then if I was going to ask you about your chest, does your chest feel that there's a tightness? Do you have issues with taking deep breaths? Or do you feel like you're actually pretty nice and open? And then bring your awareness to the back of your body, where the shoulder blades are, the back of the ribs, the back of the neck. Do you feel tension there from that held postural position? Or is it nice and loose? And just check in with yourself without judgment, without saying, oh my gosh, I'm so this. Oh my gosh, it's so that. None of that. Just as an observer, where are you? And then bring your awareness to the space between the low ribs and where the legs attach. And eyes closed actually can be good, or even looking off and really trying to figure out where you are. As I guide you through this, I actually check in with my own body, and I can imagine where I position myself most often, or think about the times I do correct myself when I'm thinking of that. So now we're down here in this midsection here. The only bony part is the spine. Now it is the largest of the bones, the 5 lumbar spine, but there's these muscles here that are actually what mobilizes your spine, or mobilizes your body, spine and body. And they get tight and they get overworked, or they get loose and they are not strong enough to support you. So just bring your awareness there. Now bring yourself down, your pelvis. Do you know if it's balanced? Do you have any SI joint issues in the back of your pelvic area? What are your hips like? What are your knees like? What about your ankles? And bring your awareness to your feet, your left foot, your right. Do you have collapsed joints? Do you have tightness in your feet? Do you have issues with plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendon, calf issues? Do you cramp? Are you tight? Who are you? Without judgment. So we are going to focus today on expanding that. The areas we come to, if it's an area that you know you have issues, I'm going to point out where we are and what you can do and what you can notice. Let's expand. Let's be on the path of getting stronger, more limber, greater range of motion, removing tightness and removing obstructions. That's it, wherever you are in that spectrum, right? There's no right or wrong here. So that's what today's practice will be about. So let's begin with supporting the legs. You're either going to put your legs up a wall or legs on a chair, or if you don't have either of those, you could roll up blankets or get pillows and put it underneath your knees. This is very supportive to settle the whole pelvic low back area. So we're going to start right here in the middle, and we're going to take away tension from below and from above so that we can start right here and settle this part of your body. So if you do have a chair, you could put a blanket on a chair. Make sure, now this chair has no back, which is fantastic. If you, these kinds of chairs are actually really good for doing this, because then your legs can actually hang off the side, and putting something nice and warm there is also a good thing to do. So if you were going to come on the chair, you would have your legs so that the entire leg is supported. You see how the chair is up to the back on my knee? Not like this, because it doesn't quite do the job, and the hip flexors still need to fire up, and they are attached to the low lumbar spine, so it'll have an effect here. You need to be close enough. You know what's really great is a square ottoman. I have trouble saying that word. An ottoman is perfect height, it seems, for a lot of our femur bone, because that's what it has to be, the height of the femur. And then for those that are kind of shorter, if you put something underneath your tushy, like a little folded blanket or pillow, that may be beneficial for you. So getting whatever is appropriate for you. If you're going to use a chair, I'm actually going to use the wall today. So chair for those who would prefer to put their legs up a chair, or a wall for those who want to put their legs up the wall. And then make sure for today's practice you have a strap and a block handy. And let's put that off to the side. So I'd like to guide you through getting down on the wall, legs up the wall, because this seems to be a challenge. And almost every class I've ever taught and people that I work with privately, I need to give a little guidance with this. So I'd like to do that here, because this can be a great way to settle the pelvis, settle the low back, really get your skeleton to go into a better aligned position. So if you begin to the side, legs are to the side, you have your blanket ready there for your head. And if you allow your body to touch the wall, so let your tushy touch the wall, and I'm angled. So one buttock is on the ground and one buttock is touching the wall. And then you walk your hands away, you come down onto your forearms, and then you come down onto the ground and let your legs come up. Now, people are so obsessed with being close to the wall, thinking the tushy needs to touch. I'll tell you that for most bodies, tushy doesn't touch, especially if you have tightness in your back legs or low back or glutes. So it's not about touching the wall, but I would like you to not be too far away, because then you're going to be turning on your hip flexor muscles. So let the legs be up the wall or on a chair. And then feel the sacrum, which is the base of the spine. It's in the pelvis. Feel the connection of your sacrum on the ground. Eyes are closed. Take your arms to the side of your body. Dig your elbows into the ground and the upper arm bones to lift your rib cage away from the floor as you slide the shoulder blades closer to the spine. And you place your skeleton, the upper part of you, in a better aligned position. The tiny muscles that hold the joints together, the ligaments, and then the end part of the muscles, the tendons, are all around the joints. So when you start to rearrange yourself, you may feel tightness somewhere or a gentle pulling. Lift your head up a little bit, tuck your chin towards your chest, lengthen the back neck. So the eyes are closed. Feel that the back of your neck is super long, and you're not crowding the front of your neck. So this is not to put yourself into a flexion position. You have the ground there to help put you in a neutral. And then let's let the head go side to side a few times, because the neck can be a stimulator of the mental emotional layer. And especially if there's anything well, there's a lot of aspects, right? There's mental, emotional aspects. There's fear of not being able to breathe, of unobstruction in the throat. There may be a thickness in your saliva, maybe with dehydration, which happens as we age. And the thickness can be a little alarming, feeling that you're not going to be able to breathe because the body is too busy swallowing versus allowing the opening for breath. So just softening any kind of reactions with that neck area. And then bring yourself back to a neutral position. If you need to re-lengthen the back of the neck, go ahead and do that. So the shoulder blades are on the ground. Push the shoulder blades into the ground. Press your chest up towards the sky. And then push your sacrum into the ground. That's going to activate the core muscles. Take your arms. So the arms are down alongside you. The elbows are right by your waist. So have your elbows low. And then start to roll your arms to try to get the hands to touch the floor. This is rotator cuff muscles. You're rolling the top of your upper arm bone in the joint. And for some of you, you may not be able to get your arms to touch the floor. So if that's you, your hands can't touch, reach your arms a little bit away from you. And the eyes are closed here. I'd like you all to explore what feels like the appropriate arm position that stretches appropriately in the chest or shoulder area. So maybe your arms are out to the side, maybe the elbows are bent, or maybe you're able to lift your upper arms a little higher. And once you get to your sweet spot, let your arms go. Let your legs relax and let the femur bone, that upper leg bone, sink deep into the hip joint. Mouth is closed, back teeth are separated. Begin to breathe in and out through your nose and start to connect to your breath. Notice where your breath goes in your torso. Most of us breathe in the upper part of the lungs, maybe from the heart on up. Try not to do anything with your breath. Try to observe the natural pace of your breath. Bring your awareness around the lower ribs and notice if you feel anything move there when you're breathing. Diaphragm is the primary breathing muscle. It's all the way around the lower ribs, and then it attaches to the very center of the spine, right where the kidneys and the adrenal glands attach, and the top of your psoas. It's a really important midpoint area of the body. And the diaphragm is like a plunger. So when you breathe in, it bows downward to suck in and draw air into your lungs, all the way to the deepest area where gas exchange takes place, the alveoli. They're like little clusters of grapes. For those that have COPD or issues in their lungs, or have had chronic infections or infections in general, there may be some issues here at your grape clusters. But I'd like you to realize that the grape clusters of the lungs are actually so many. So there's so many we can access, even if some of them are damaged. It's a third of a tennis court. The space, like the meters, the square meters, all of that surface area for intaking oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide, which is toxic. It's one of the main pathways of detoxification in the body. So bring your awareness to your lower ribs, to your diaphragm that is like a plunger. And on your next inhale, feel it moving down towards your pelvis, drawing in as much breath as possible, and feel the pressure that's created in the abdomen. It's called intra-abdominal pressure. As you push the contents of your belly down towards where the legs attach. And there's not a lot of room to go because everything is so tightly packed and supported by connective tissue. See if you could feel it all the way down to your tailbone because you're breathing in so deep, like a plunger drawing in the breath. You'll even feel some spinal movements and realignment of joints for those of you that have a lot of inner body awareness. And then I'd like you to section this off if you can and try to breathe to the right side down to the leg bone, to the hip joint. And then breathe to the left side, to the left hip joint. Keep doing that. Right side, left side. Maybe you're able to feel it and maybe not. Try. And then bring the awareness to both sides at the same time. So the entire diaphragm draws the breath down to your legs, to your hip joints. And breathe so big that you feel stretching. And wherever you are, take 3 more deep breaths. Stay with your breath. Let your legs be heavy. Breathe down to your hip joints. Feel your diaphragm drawing the breath down to the hips, to the pelvis. Feel stretching, feel a filling and a pressure in the abdomen all the way down to the hip joints, down to the tailbone and the sacrum in the pelvis. Finishing that last breath. Let the last breath go.
Give your breath back to your body. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Do whatever you'd like to do with your arms to deepen the stretch, whether that's overhead or out to the side. If you are able to go overhead, bend your wrist so that you're leading with the heel of your hand. Create a little deeper stretch there. Feel the rib cage moving away from the pelvis. Maybe you feel a stretch either in the abdomen, so between the ribs and the pelvis, or even deep alongside the pelvis where the top of the psoas is attached to your low back. Reach with the heel of your hands like you're a spider person shooting webbing on the wall across the room from you. And strong bend fingers are pulling down towards your toes. Heels of the hands are reaching away from you. Whether you're out to the side or up, this helps to stretch the wrist joint, the lower arms, create more space in the arms. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and release that. Let the arms go out to the side. Let's separate the feet if your legs are on the wall, and if your legs are on the chair, take them from the bent position up towards the ceiling. Let's inhale to strongly point the legs, exhale to flex. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Inhale, point, exhale, flex. One more, and go strong here. Point strongly. And try to have your kneecaps pointing straight back. Toes are pointing up towards the sky. Feel the stretch in the front of the feet. Notice if you start to come to a place of cramping, inhale, and then exhale strongly. The center of your heel on the sole of the foot. Point it up towards the sky as much as you can. Knees are straight or knees are bent. Whatever's appropriate for your body. Feel the stretch at the back of your legs, back of the heels, back of the legs. Let the legs be heavy, sinking into the pelvis to support low back. And then go ahead and soften. Let's do really big and slow circles. Notice if you're going to try to go fast here. What I notice often is everyone tries to go so fast. Human doing versus human being. Feel the popping, the release of gases in the ankle joint. Feel the stretch of the ankle, the stretch of the Achilles tendon, the stretching of the calf. If low back doesn't like this, bend your knees pretty deeply. Focus here is on lubricating joints, stretching tissues from the toes to the nose. And then the opposite direction, slow. And then out and in. This is hip joint. Out and in. Let your kneecaps point inward and then start to point out. Let the kneecaps really roll in the joint here. Look at the kneecaps moving when you do this. And then bending the knees and straightening. Bend and straighten. Lubricate that kneecap. Let the kneecaps point straight back. Bend and straighten. You're either doing this with your feet that were on a chair or you're up against a wall. And then bring yourself back to center. We're going to open and close. Open and close. Feel that stretch coming into the adductors. This is also going to stretch right where these muscles attach to the knee. Now, if it's a little heavy and you have a lot of tightness in your body, you could take your hands on the side of your legs when you go to the open position. Not doing too much work with the hands, letting them be more about support. And then flex the feet here. Point the kneecaps straight back when you do this. And now turn the kneecaps outward and do this. Different part of muscles. Different muscles. So this little external rotation, stretching. Bring yourself back to center. Let's take a break for a second. I definitely feel that in my quadriceps, hip flexors. And bring yourself up. A little internal rotation. Kneecaps are pointing inward. That's your sign that the femur bone is internally rotated. open and close, just experiencing all the different parts of your legs that stretch when you do this. And then bring yourself back to center, kneecaps are pointing back. Let's come into a held position here. And you could hold your legs. When I say held, I mean we're holding the posture. And then the legs you could hold on and support your legs if you'd like. And then bend your knees. Let's come into happy baby. Happy baby here, you hold on behind your hamstring area and you rock side to side because the low back is pressing into the ground. And then rock across the top of your pelvis. That's where the tendons of the muscles of the low back attach onto the pelvis. So this can be nice to take some discomfort out of that area. It's also low back. And then if you're able to come into happy baby where you grab the big toes for those that are pretty limber, or you grab onto the feet with the thumbs on the inside, fingers on the outside. And a little rocking side to side seems to be a little bit more easy to manage the deep stretching that's taking place. And then let's bring the soles of the feet together. Hold on to the soles of the feet. Try to put the soles of the feet together. So the toes are touching, the upper toe pad is touching. Maybe you need to reach your head off the ground to do this. I like to clasp my hands. It's very helpful. Push the soles of the feet together, push the foot pads together, and a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then bring the knees together. Let's roll onto your side. Let's take the hand on the ground. We're going to push ourselves up to a seated position. All right. So far, we settled low back, settled pelvis, allowed joints to settle. Then we brought in the breath to help to warm up the spine, warm up the ribs. For me, when I do that breath, when I breathe down to a right side or a low left side, or breathe deeply, especially when my legs are elevated, there's a lot of movement in my spine. I feel the adjustments happening. So we're very deep in the body when we do that. And the legs supported can be a great way to take a lot of tension off that low back area and pelvic area, and how the legs attach to the body, like whatever is functional or dysfunctional in our bodies. So it's a nice way to do a lot of that. All right, so that was low body, a lot of low body warming up the feet, the legs, the muscles of the legs, muscles of the feet, the joints of the feet, the ankle, the knee, and the hip. So let's go down and start to warm up the spine from here on up. So thinking about the belly button right in this area, 80% of the rotation of the spine takes place here. Take your hands for a second, right where your low ribs are, and maybe put your palms up, let your elbows be on the side of your body, let your palms be right here, let your arms be alongside your body, and then move side to side a little bit and experience the stretch of rotational muscles. Now push your belly button back towards your spine, because you'll notice here, how was that for your low back? Okay, so this is where we're going to move from now. We're going to move from here on up. So let's take the blanket, take your blanket, and we're going to roll our blanket up. So this blanket here is long. I don't want you to do this with the short part. I want you to do this with the long part. And it could be a blanket or a towel or whatever. I'd like you to roll this up, because we're going to do a little bit with our spine and with our chest. And before we start to do some rotation, I want to make sure that we're nice and open in our chest. So we're going to come down and do a little bit of things to make sure that the upper body is nice and open. So let's take the blanket and put the blanket on your mat. And then you're going to have a seat. Your whole body is on the floor before the blanket. So do not sit on the blanket. You're going to sit right next to the blanket. Then we're going to bring ourselves down by reaching our hand away and letting that blanket be right on the spine. And you may need to lift your pelvis up and move down a little bit if you were too high, or move up a little bit if you were too low, so that that blanket is right at your spine. And then if you could keep it level here, okay. But for some of you, this may be a little bit of tension in the head because it's going backwards. So if you'd like, you could fold the upper part. I don't want you to be too high though. I'd rather you actually do it down here where you fold it and you put support in your neck. Okay, so only if you need that. I really would love it if you could try to be straight here. And then we're going to take our arms and have the arms down alongside your body. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. Take an exhale and then inhale. Lift your arms up and over as far back as they'll go. If you have shoulder issues, you may not be able to lift all the way towards the back. That's okay. I want you to have your eyes open as you inhale to lift. Notice the arms. Do they go at the same pace? Do you feel like they're off alignment? Is one higher than the other? Do you feel like one shoulder is more forward than the other shoulder? Just whatever you can notice. And then also notice if this is a challenge. This is a lot about arm muscles, and the shoulder blades are not as helpful here as they usually are when we're not locking them down like this. So just notice what you notice. And then when you get up to the top, if you're able to, notice what's happening in the midsection of the body. Notice if you feel a stretch down there. And if you do, is it the same thing on the right and the left? One more. And then bring yourself all the way down. Let's take the elbows out. So the elbows are out beside your body, not as high as the shoulders and not as low as the waist, kind of in between. And then you're going to inhale your hands up and down. Keep your elbows on the floor. You may be able to touch at the top and may be able to touch at the bottom, and you also might not be able to do this. So these are rotational muscles. Part of this is the rotator cuff. The rotator cuff is 4 tendons, so attached to muscles, that hold the upper arm bone in that joint. 4 tendons, that's your rotator cuff. And there's a lot of issues with people's shoulders here. So this is going to just be, maybe you have tightness here, maybe you're able to just, maybe not. The next time you come open, stay there. Lift your arms off the floor, let them hover. Take an exhale as your elbows come down towards your waist, and an inhale as your arms move up towards the wall behind you. An exhale as you come down towards your waist. Now don't have your arms on the ground, but have them closer to the ground than to the ceiling. So I'd like them to be elevated, but close to the ground. And feel what you feel here. Notice, are there any joints moving? Do you feel any like popping? Of course, whenever you feel it needs to be a noticing feeling without any pain or discomfort. Trying to stretch the muscles that move the arms, muscles that become part of support and stability for the upper trunk, and posture and spinal alignment. And then try to let your wrists and elbows be in alignment if they can. If you can come to where you're holding yourself into a position where you could feel a decent stretch where the arms are attaching. So the chest muscles, shoulder muscles, making sure it feels appropriate, keeping your arms hovering so there's a little bit of muscular action here, a little contraction of some muscles. It's not necessarily a passive. There's some action here in the muscles. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself out. All right. We are going to stretch our thoracic spine, kind of a more challenging area to get. So walk your feet a little bit closer to you. We're going to go to the side. So you're going to put your arm on the side, your hand by your head, whichever side you'd like. And I want you to just roll off the blanket a little bit. So the blanket is still behind you, right behind your spine. And then bring your knees forward. And for some of you, depending on what kind of tightness you have, what you have going on in your body, you may need your block. So if your block wasn't handy, like I was able to get it with my feet, if you're not able to do that, you might need to come up first, start on your blanket, and then roll to your side where you have your block. So for some people, they may need to have the block between the knees.
That's why I wanted you to have that. And also the other place that's pretty supported is the ankle joint. So sometimes it's not just the knees that could use support, it's your ankles. So if you do need your block, go ahead and get it, put it between your knees. And then you're going to clasp your hands behind your head, take an exhale, and then inhale, reach with the shoulder. Clasp your hands, exhale. Inhale, lead with your elbow. As your elbow comes up towards the sky, slide the shoulder blade closer to the spine, contract your core, open yourself as much as you'll go without letting anything happen to the legs. So keep the legs where they are, squeeze the legs. Exhale to come back. Inhale with the shoulder and the elbow. Shoulder blades now slides towards the spine. Feel that stretch up by the shoulder blade, up by the armpit. That's where I want the stretch to be. I don't want you to be in your low back at all. So really get the upper arm to move, and especially the elbow moving up towards the sky. And then that sliding the shoulder blade towards the spine to try to keep this more about the thoracic spine rotating in the upper. And you might feel it down towards your low back. So I definitely feel my low back stretching as well. Make sure it feels appropriate for you if you have low back issues. Inhale up, exhale back. One more. Inhale, elbow, slide the shoulder towards the spine. Stay here. Push your heart forward, contract your core to hug your lumbar spine. Try to lengthen this waist, whatever side you're on, lengthen the waist. Feel the stretch, and then slide the shoulder towards the spine, and then point the elbow to the side and slightly up, like at a diagonal, to feel a nice stretch in this part of your body. And then bring yourself back to center, come back, take that upper arm. Let's roll that upper arm around in the joint. Do 3 circles in one direction and 3 circles in the other. Keeping that functionality and that range of motion in your body, getting rid of tightness, congestion. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take that arm out in front of you, reach it away. So maybe even here you feel a stretch up behind your shoulder. Walk your fingers away like you're walking them away, fingertip, fingertip. See if you can feel a stretch by the shoulder blade. As the shoulder blade is sliding away from the spine, you're resting your head on the ground. Exhale, and then inhale, reach with your fingertips up to the side, and then exhale back. 3 of these. And then 1 more. Stay here, reach your hand diagonally up. If you'd like, you could flex the wrist, adding even more stretch like your spider person shooting a web. Feel that stretch on the wrist area, lower forearm, armpit maybe. Push your heart forward, take 1 more breath. And then go ahead and soften. Let's roll to the other side. I'll have my back towards you so that you could actually maybe see some of the backward aspects of this movement. So let your knees go to the side. Block if you need it. Come all the way to the side. Make sure the blanket is still there behind your back and you're resting on your arm that's on the ground. Then you clasp your hands behind your head. Take an exhale, squeeze the elbows towards each other. As you inhale, lead with your elbow. Slide the shoulder blade towards the spine and open to wherever the stretch is appropriate for you. It will be down by the low back, so feel what's appropriate. Exhale to close. Inhale to open. Elbow, shoulder blade towards spine. Open, open, open. Feel whatever stretch is appropriate. Exhale. Feel the rotation from the lower ribs on up. And yes, you may feel stuff in your lower torso. Last one, you're going to inhale, lead with the elbow, slide the shoulder blade towards the spine, press the heart forward, and then rotate the thoracic spine. Stay here. Squeeze the knees together. Press the belly back towards the spine. That'll help to support low back. And then bring yourself forward. Let's take the upper arm. We're going to do 3 circles in one direction. 3 circles. Go slow and feel that stretch. And then 3 in the opposite direction. And then take that arm in front of you and walk it away. Walk, walk, walk. Let your fingers walk on the ground to really stretch that upper arm so that you feel the stretch where the shoulder blade is, in between the shoulder blade and the spine. Stretch those deep muscles. Take an exhale. And then inhale, reach the arm up. We're going to do 3 of these. Exhale back, really rotating the upper trunk, the rib cage. Inhale to open. And on this last one, contract your core, support your low body. Bring your awareness to your lower ribs and your entire rib cage. Exhale. And as you inhale, let the lower rib cage start to move, let the middle rib cage start to move, and let the upper rib cage move as you come into this thoracic spine rotation and stay here. Push your heart forward, contract your core, support your tummy, lengthen the waist that's on the top, so the low ribs and the top of the pelvis. Then flex your hand, reach out the heel of your hand like your spider person. Feel the stretch there. Notice maybe one side's tighter than the other. Take one more breath. And then come back to the side. From here, we're going to come up. So take your hand on the ground, push yourself away, and bring yourself up. Getting the whole upper body stretched, getting the whole lower body lubricated, stretched. Let's take our blanket and get your blanket onto your mat. Bring yourself up here onto your blanket. And I'd like you to check in again. So in this position, I want you to notice, how does your lower body feel? How does your pelvis feel? How are the hips? How are the knees, the feet, the ankles? Then bring your awareness here, low ribs, entire rib cage, shoulders, arms. Let your arms be down alongside your body. Where's your head? How's your upper back and neck? How are the shoulders? Take the shoulders forward, up, back, and down. Go slow. Forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Take your legs a little wide if you need, if you're feeling any, congestion here, and then try to go even a little wider. Let's move the pelvis around in a circular pattern. So move the pelvis here. Try to go forward as far as you can, feeling a stretch here, maybe to the side as far as you can, back as far as you can. The back is straight. So make sure when you do this, your spine, when you do go forward, your spine stays straight. It's not rounding. Circles in one direction. If you think about your tailbone drawing a circle on the floor below you to get that circular shape. And then let's go the other direction. So this can help to take away some of the pulling on the low back, the tension in the body. Nice thing to do. You can do this in a standing position as well. We're half standing, right? We're standing on the upper leg bone.
not the lower leg bones. So we're using the hip joint here and the spine and the pelvis for balance. And then come back to center. Let's take your hands down alongside your body. Let's inhale up, reach up, come into a little bit of a back bend or a lot of bit of a back bend if you can. Exhale down. You inhale up if your shoulders will let you. A back bend if it's appropriate. If not, stay in alignment. And then exhale down. Inhale up. Open your throat. Exhale one more. Inhale to come up. Stay here. And then imagine you're serving a tray. Now for shoulders that don't like to raise up, see if this works for you. If you could let your elbows reach up and holding on here, supporting. And then for those with straight arms, flexing, reaching up. Feel that stretch here in the belly. And then bring yourself down. Let's take the arm up and over. Up and over. For shoulders that don't like to raise up too much, maybe you could bring your elbows here, or maybe you could try to bend your body, putting your arms to the side. So there's always an option. It's not, oh, I can't do that. It's, oh, I need to find where do I have that in my body? What range of motion is okay for me? So laterally flexing the spine, stretching the low back, the tissues in between the lower ribs. The next time you come to one side, stay there. Stay there. Try to keep your arm alongside your ear. Don't let it be forward, so really push it. And then look up towards the sky, adding a little cervical rotation. And then bring your head back, because that could be a lot of tension for the upper area. Come down. Let's do the other side. Inhale up. And stay here. Keep your arm alongside your body. If you'd like to look up a little, and then forward, and then bring yourself out. So you could stay here to do the neck, or you could come down either onto your heels or stretching your feet, bending your toes under and sitting on top of your feet. So whatever is available for you and your body, find it. You're nice and tall in your spine, bringing your awareness to your neck. Get really tall. Imagine that there's a string here pulling you. So create a nice stretch. Take your arms, slide your hands back. Elbows are underneath your shoulders and shoulder blades are sliding towards the spine. Exhale. Inhale. The tip of your ear goes straight up towards the sky. Straight up. And then bring yourself back. Reach your ear up towards the sky. Straight up towards the sky. And then back. Straight up. Straight up. And then come back to center. If you are on your toes and they're starting to stretch a lot, you could come and sit on your heels or be up here for those that your knees don't like to bend. Keep your teeth together. Inhale. Exhale, chin to chest. Keep your elbows underneath your shoulders. Slide your shoulder blades towards your spine. Just let your neck move. Keep your teeth together. Inhale, chin up towards the ceiling. Exhale, chin to chest. Just feel that stretch in the front of your neck and maybe even along the back of your neck. One more. Bring yourself back to center. Let's do a little rotation. Take one hand across your body, the other hand on your waist. Push the elbow back. Contract your core, hug your lumbar spine. Exhale, and then inhale. Lower ribs, middle ribs, and upper ribs rotate. Feel the appropriate stretch in the midsection of the body. Push your heels into your tushy into your heels. Lift yourself nice and long. Or if you're upright, point your tailbone down, hug your lumbar spine. Take one more breath.
And then bring yourself down, using the breath to come down and help facilitate that rotation. Take the other hand across the body, the hand on your waist, elbow behind you, nice and tall. Arrange your pelvis. Tailbone is pointing down, or you press into your heels with your tushy. Take it, exhale, and then inhale. Lower ribs, middle ribs, upper ribs. Breathe down to your belly. One more breath. And then bring yourself out. Let's come on to all fours. Hands are underneath your shoulders, a little bit wider than your body. Knees are wide. Take your hands forward a little bit more. Let's come into cat-cow. You're going to inhale, point your tailbone up, push your belly down, push your heart down, open your throat. Head is up. Feel that stretch in the belly. Inhale. As you exhale, start to point the tailbone down towards the back. Let the low back come into flexion as it flattens out. If you have osteoporosis, stop there. If you don't, you can let the flexion come into the upper spine. Head and neck go down. Inhale to come into extension or cow posture. Exhale into cat. Tailbone down, flatten the low back, let flexion come into the pelvis and the low back, but not into the thoracic spine if you have osteoporosis. If you have osteoporosis, you don't want to push on the front of your spine because that's where the compression leads to fractures. So if you know you have osteoporosis, and I don't really like to flex my spine too much in the upper part because I feel like we do so much of it. But I do love the lower part. I think it's important to get a stretch in the low back. So really getting that flexion in the lower spine is important, not really so important to do the upper. One more. And then let's stretch our backs by bringing your hands forward, 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 and letting your forehead touch the ground. Push your forehead into the ground and feel your tailbone reaching away from you. Really stretch your spine here. Think about all 26 bones, even though the last 2 are fused. Think about length between each one. Pulling off of your jelly donuts, your discs. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself up. Let's put forearms on the floor. Walk your knees closer to each other. The forearms are right underneath. The elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Forearms are right underneath your ears. And then modification of a dolphin would be lower legs on the floor or flip your knees, bring your feet up, whatever. This is to strengthen your trunk. We stretched everything. This is to strengthen. Push away from the floor with your feet and push away with your arms and your hands. Make sure you're as tall as you could be from the crown of your head. Back neck is nice and long. All the way down your spine to your tailbone. Take 3 more breaths. And then let your pelvis come down. I breathe slow. So 3 breaths for me is pretty slow. Stretch your belly here, pushing your arms into the ground, open your throat, push your rib cage away from the ground. And then let's come onto your side and push yourself all the way up. Let's take the blanket onto the ground. Up at the top of the mat, make sure you have your blanket. Up at the top of the mat, you have your strap and your lock handy. Let's come back down onto the ground. And take a little break here. So just came out of a strengthening posture. Let's bring the knees into the chest. Rock side to side. Let your limbs settle here in this position. Get your strap. Let's bring one leg in, put the strap on the foot, and do a little side to side with the ankle joint. The knee stays straight, the upper leg bone stays straight, side to side. And then hold on to your leg. Keep the other knee bent for a second. Let's draw that leg back. Feel how the low back presses into the ground. If you could keep your legs straight, I would like that. If you need to bend it, go ahead. The kneecap is pointing straight back and you're drawing the foot back. Then bring yourself back to center. Bring your strap to the widest part of your foot. So not on your toes, but the part of your foot below your toes, it's pretty wide. Let's inhale to bend and exhale to straighten. So pulling the strap really strongly towards you, barely bending your leg on the inhale, exhale, straighten. Feeling that really deep calf stretch here. On your next one, I'd like you to stay there and hold. Feel the back of your leg, maybe even all the way down to your tushy stretch. And then bend that knee, bring the other foot up into the air. Put the strap in the arch part of that foot. And at first you're moving side to stretch the ankle. Keep your kneecap straight. This is a good way to have some access to stretching the ankle joint. And it's really important to keep this part of you. You know, sometimes low back issues are because your ankles are tight or your feet are tight, or there's a collapse in the integrity of the foot. And then the ankles can't do their job. And then the knees can't do their job. And the hips can't do their job. Pelvis becomes off alignment, or the muscles of the backs of the legs are so tight, they're pulling on the pelvis, which is pulling on the sacrum and the coccyx bone, which is affecting lower lumbar spine. So with low back issues, you never know where the cause is. That's why if we really stretch the entire unit, we can soften up some of that tension that exists in the body. So let's hold on to the strap, keep that opposite leg bent, and draw that leg back to stretch whatever you could feel, wherever you feel it. Feel that nice deep stretch. Wherever it is, try to get the kneecap to point straight back. When you're in the stretch, try to get a nice aligned leg here. So the kneecap points straight back, not to the sides. The toes are pointing back and the sole of the foot is up towards the sky. Trying to get that alignment in the stretch. Take one more breath. And then let's come into the calf. Notice if your hands are getting tired. Good. We're working on hands here. It's important. Grip strength has been related to bone health and potential fractures. So we need strong arms. Let's inhale to bend the leg, exhale to straighten. Inhale, bend, exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend, exhale, straighten. Inhale, exhale. One more, inhale to bend, exhale to straighten. Stay here. Pull the foot towards you, straighten the leg. And then go ahead and release. Take the strap off to the side. Get your block. Let's put the block between the knees. So when we do have the block between the knees and we squeeze the block, what that does is that actually turns on the stabilizing midline of the body. So that's actually a really great thing to keep us. Like if we were carousel ponies, when you squeeze that block, that's the pole that the carousel pony is on that keeps it where it needs to be. So this can be a really nice way to get those deep stabilizers, the muscles that are in the joints that stabilize the body, in the pelvis, in the spine, that help to relate to everything up and down the spine. Take your hands behind your head. Squeeze the block. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, contract your core. So imagine you're squeezing a big juicy orange in your tummy. Flatten your low back. Lift your upper body off the floor. Osteoporosis, stay there. No osteoporosis, bring your elbows towards each other, chin towards the chest. Inhale to lower. Exhale, squeeze the block, contract the core, flatten the low back, lift the upper body either into flexion in the upper body or arms are out to the side if you know you have osteoporosis. Inhale to lower. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. Squeeze the block. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. One more. Exhale to rise. Stay there. Either elbows towards each other or out to the side. Squeezing the block. Flattening the lower back. Feel what you feel. Low ribs are pressing towards the ground. Low back is pressing towards the ground. Top of the pelvis is pressing towards the ground. Squeeze the block, squeeze the block. And then go ahead and lower down. Lots of spinal support there. Take your blanket away from the back of your head. Lift your head up. Spine is nice and long. Slide the shoulder blades towards each other. Hands are down. Walk your feet away from your body a little bit. So you're in a neutral. Go like that to be neutral. And then walk your feet forward. Lengthen the back of the neck. Slide the shoulder blades towards each other. Arms are down alongside your body. Squeeze the block. Flatten the low back. Exhale. Inhale to lift. Only peel your spine away to where the lower ribs are. And then exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Try to start with a flat low back, squeezing the block, contracting the core, peeling the spine off to the lower ribs. And as you lower down, place the spine on the floor, low back, then the pelvis, rock to the tailbone. Low back comes away from the floor when you do that. And then again, squeeze the block, inhale, squeeze the tushy, lift and peel the spine away from the floor. So you're peeling your spine up and placing it back down one vertebra at a time. Squeezing the block when you do this, getting nice functionality of the core and stabilizing joint muscles, working the tushy, working the hamstrings, back of your body to support. One more. Squeeze and lift. Stay here. Walk your feet so they're block distance. For those of you that want a little bit more, you can lift one leg off and then the other. Squeezing the block. Do that one more time each. For those of you that are not lifting the legs, stay there squeezing the block. Both feet, squeeze the block. Lengthen the tailbone. And then slowly place the spine down one vertebra at a time. Bring the blanket back under your head. Take the block off to the side and draw the knees in. Take the arms alongside your body. We're going to come into a twist. So let's take one leg long, one leg on top, and then let your knee fall off to the side. So find this twist. See how this feels. This could be a little bit more gentle sometimes for those with low back issues, instead of letting both knees go over. So one leg is straight, one leg is here. If you want a little deeper, you could take your hand on the leg that's going over and let your head look the opposite direction. So this hand that goes on top helps to deepen the stretch if that's appropriate for you. Wring yourself out like a towel. Deep breath down to your belly. One more breath. And then bringing yourself back to center. Take that leg straight, the other leg on top, and rotate to the side. Hand on top of that leg if it's appropriate. Nice long waist, head to the opposite direction. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's bring the knees into the chest. We're going to prepare for Shavasana. So find yourself the way you'd like. You could end with your legs at the wall, which is how we began. Or you can come into a regular Shavasana. So choose what's appropriate for you. Let go, let go, let go. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Start to bring movement to your hands, your feet, your legs, your arms. Draw the knees into your chest, rolling onto your side. From here, you're going to gently push yourself up. Lead with your shoulder. Don't pull yourself up with your head. We just did so much great work to release back tension. And then come to a seated position.
We'll close with sound. Keep your eyes closed. Take your hands together. Press your thumbs to your chest to your thumbs. Bring your awareness to your upper body, your head, your neck, your upper back, your spine, your low back, midsection, the pelvis, low body. Notice what you notice. We're going to bring sound to vibrate and settle the entire you, body and mind. Keeping the lips together, the sound like the letter M. Take an exhale to create space. An inhale. Bowing in gratitude and in recognition of each other. Namaste. All right. Oh, I feel great. I hope you do too. So, hopefully that was good for everybody and everybody. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Martha. Great. Nice to have you all here. I hope that was good for you and hope we didn't cause any issues anywhere for those that have issues. All right. So thank you. I'm off. Prepare for my next class and I'll see you all later. So tomorrow, osteoporosis on YouTube, Saturday, stress management on YouTube. Stay healthy, functional movement, strong and healthy as we age. That's the goal. All right. You're welcome, Michael. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Raina. And thank you all for being here. I'll see you when I see you. I'm off to see Led Zeppelin tonight. Jason Bonham, who is John Bonham's, the former drummer of Led Zeppelin, his son. There's a concert with him and I saw them 2 years ago. I have rain check. I have tickets from May 28th, 2020. So 18 months later, I'm going to see them. One of the best concerts I've ever been to. It's like being at Led Zeppelin. All right. I'll feel good tonight at the concert. All right. Bye, everyone.